Hello, my name is Jocelyn McCarthy, Biology 225, and tonight I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate the basic aseptic technique that we were asked to do for this lab and how to basically transfer liquid form agar plates, transfer bacteria from those media. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn around the camera right here as all my supplies are here. So now, I don't have the exact bacteria because I already threw it out and I don't want to waste another broth and pretend, because when I was doing this experiment, I didn't realize that I have to do the video showing how to do this. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and pretend, and I'm going to demonstrate exactly how it's done. So I'm tilting the camera. Okay. So in this experiment, we're going to need different types of instrumentations. So first, we're going to have to label. The key to this experiment is to having clean to clean, dirty to dirty, and make sure is to label everything so we know exactly what we put in one test tube versus another, and the plates and all that. So you're going to need a pen, you're going to need this tongue, the metal tongue, to hold your test tubes that you're going to have to transfer different media. So, and then there's a candle here with your, what is this called? The lighter for sterilization. So, unlike in the lab, in the real lab, they would have the incinerator or an autoclave to, what is that called? Not to incubate, but to sterilize all these materials. But since we don't have it and this is an at-home lab, we are going to go ahead and do it old school by using the candle right here. So first things first, I already have my gloves, but before you do that, you go ahead and wash your hands thoroughly. And since I work in the operating room, I know how it's done properly. And if you want to do a proper scrub, then you would have to do a 3-minute scrub on each arm. So basically what it is to wet your hands before, and then you go ahead and do your scrub, first scrub of the day, and it will be 10 repetitions on each plane. So each finger would have 4 planes, so you technically would have 40 planes. So the total scrubbing method would be 3-minute method according to AORN standards, which is the operating room standard that we use on across the board. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate how it's done. Here it is. So first, we're gonna have our rubbing alcohol. Mine, I chose to have the 91% rubbing alcohol. Any rubbing alcohol would actually work, but the higher the grade would be, the better. So I just happen to like the 91% alcohol, isopropyl alcohol for anything, whether I'm doing this class or not. So rubbing alcohol in this cup right here, everything is labeled ready to go. And this one would be your inoculation rings, your pipette, you can do and clean that. And then these will be your petri dishes to transfer all your bacteria. Say for example, this was the broth right here. This is an empty agar plates that I used already. So if there was a broth here, and if I was to do the sterilization, I would have to go and light a candle in order to sterilize the test tube. That would be each and every time you would have to go and just swirl like in about two to 3 seconds, not to burn yourself. So you'd have to do that. After you've done so, you can go ahead and get your inoculation ring, make sure you soak it in to the rubbing alcohol. After you do that, you swish. You let it stand for 20 seconds. Make sure that there's no alcohol drops in there. Do it again if you want. Then the point is not to touch the tip. Let it drip. And go ahead and put it in your media right here. Not touching the edge that you just sterilized. After you do so, before you cap it, you would go ahead and do the lighter test again, which is a candle test, and then you go ahead and burn the tip of the test tube before you recap it. So once you do so, that's ready to go, and that's done. Put it aside. With this inoculation ring, you would have to put it in your rubbing alcohol again. Let it sit there for 20 seconds or so. If you're going to have to reuse it again, you can go ahead and reuse it again each and every time. Now, the pipette. How you sterilize the pipette is the same thing. When you have a rubbing alcohol, you would have to squeeze. You have to do it 20 times according to the book. Really and truly, to follow the book, whatever the instruction says, 20 times it is. I don't know exactly, but 20 times. You go in, make sure all the bubbles gets in here, and squeeze it out 20 times. Let it sit. Make sure everything's dry before you do anything with a test tube that has any media in it. So the same thing. You go ahead and pretend that there's a bacteria in here, because we're talking, so you should not be talking while the bacteria is open. And if you're doing any of these assignments, it would have to be away from your face, and it has to be not breathing it directly. So in this case, because this is a demo, we are not having the real bacteria in here. Besides, everything is incubating. So I'm going to go ahead and let's pretend, put this one again in the rubbing alcohol. So we're going to go ahead and do the test tube sterilization again, like so. And then once it's done, go ahead and put that aside. Take your pipette, go right in the middle, not touching any surfaces. Go in, just like so. Put in your Petri dish or another test tube if it's instructed. And go ahead and put this back in a rubbing alcohol. Let it soak. Do the re-sterilization again, and then it's ready to be capped off. Now put that aside. All right, so now that we're good to go. Now, say for example, we have to heat up the test tube. Test tubes could be hot, and if we have to use this, say for example, I did not have any microwave or anything to do so, to go ahead and melt out the agar, but we don't want to, I don't want to go ahead and waste the agar test tube just in case I need it for the next assignment. But this is one way to hold this to avoid getting burned. So you would have to go ahead and put that on the fire, and it will melt like so, and it will bubble if there's an agar in here. So that's it, and that's good to go. Put it aside. After this whole assignment is all done, extinguish for safety. Make sure everything's labeled with this pen, and make sure, one more thing that I have to note, say for example there's bacteria in here, and this is an agar plate, this is the bottom of the plate, this is the top of the plate. Make sure that all the labels would have to be at the bottom, just in case the lid is accidentally thrown away, switch around, or whatnot if you're in a hurry one night. So you would go ahead and put your information in here. For example, this is an E. coli, you would put E. coli, and I like to put the date and time when I put it. It's because it's my OCD, and that's how I've been practicing when I label my medication, when I label everything else, when I open anything at home. I just practice the date and the time when I opened it and I used it, so then I know. The same thing, it actually works for this homework. It's because you would know exactly if you forget, oh, when am I going to check my incubation time? I've forgotten, because if you do different medias all at the same time, like this homework, it had 2 different lab assignments, and I would know which one to do first. So anyway, that's done and ready to go. After this whole thing is done, cleanup is as easy as how we started. So we're going to go ahead and get some 10% bleach solution to wipe down all the workspace area that you have here. And if not, if you don't have any, you can get a disinfecting wipes, wipe down all your surfaces in here. All the stuff that was contaminated, like these, you can reuse this according to the book, but you must soak it for 2 hours in a 10% bleach solution. And it's either you can let it dry or just throw it out altogether. I would like to just throw it out altogether because I don't like reusing things, especially when it touches bacteria such as E. coli and anything staph related. So that's all for tonight. And my name is Jocelyn McCarthy, Biology 225, and this is Aseptic Technique.